The term worst year ever gets thrown around a lot these days, mostly on the internet, and for reasons like, I was disappointed by the latest Star Wars movie. Yet scientists and historians actually argue that no year in the planet's long history was worse than the year 536. While, of course, there are many worthy contenders for being the worst year in history, no single year has ever been so. Had a worse impact in the following decades. Today, we'll explain why the year 536 was the worst year ever. But before we start, make sure to subscribe to the History Lawang channel. Also leave a comment and let us know what part of history you'd like us to explain next. In 536 AD, the world experienced an extraordinary climate disaster. This year is known as a dark year because the temperature on Earth dropped drastically and the sun appeared dim due to thick fog that blocked its rays for 24 hours a day, lasting 18 months. This phenomenon affected Europe, the Middle East, and parts of Asia, and had repercussions over the next decade. The cause of this global climate catastrophe is not fully understood, but some theories link it to large volcanic eruptions that disperse sulfate aerosols into the atmosphere, reducing solar radiation reaching the Earth's surface and cooling the atmosphere for several years. As a result, there were record crop failures and famines around the world. Just a few years after that, in 541 AD, the plague of Justinian broke out and killed an estimated 100 million people across the Mediterranean region, making this period an extremely difficult time to live through. Medieval historian Michael McCormack even stated that the year 536 was the beginning of one of the worst periods to be alive. Documentation from the time, including the writings of John of Ephesus and Procopius, records the strange behavior of the sun and the impact it had on everyday life. The exact cause of the large volcanic eruption that occurred in 536 is not completely known. However, there are several theories that have been proposed by researchers and historians. The following are some of the possible causes that have been identified. 1. Volcanic eruption in Iceland. One strong theory is that a volcanic eruption in Iceland in early 536 spread volcanic ash into the atmosphere in the northern hemisphere, creating a haze that cooled the temperature on Earth. 2. Eruption in North America. There is also a possibility that the eruption occurred in North America. Volcanic glass particles found in ice from a Swiss glacier indicate a powerful volcanic eruption that belched smoke across the northern hemisphere. 3. Combination of multiple eruptions. Two other major eruptions probably occurred in 540 and 547, which, together with the first eruption, had a lasting impact on the global climate. 4. Other theories. There is also a theory linking the eruption to volcanic activity in the Sunda Strait, where Mount Anak Krakatau is located, which may have triggered the event. Although there are several theories, there is still no definitive scientific agreement on the source of the eruption. Research continues to understand more about the causes and impacts of the massive volcanic eruption that led to the dark year 536. The impact of the dark year 536 on society at that time was very significant and detrimental. The following are some of the main impacts that occurred. 1. Drop in temperature. Global temperatures dropped drastically, leading to long and harsh winters. This was the coldest decade in the last 2,300 years, with temperatures dropping by up to 1.5 degrees Celsius in summer. 2. Crop failure and famine. This sharp drop in temperature resulted in crop failure in many places, leading to widespread famine. In China, it snowed in summer, and in Ireland, there was a recorded failure, availability, of bread from 536 to 539. 3. Economic stalemate. Europe fell into an economic stalemate that lasted for a century, until around 6401. 4. Social change. Society experiences major social changes as they have to adapt to harsh and uncertain living conditions. 5. Plague. Just a few years after the Dark Years, in 541, a bubonic plague known as the Plague of Justinian broke out, killing 1/3 to 1/2 of the population of the Eastern Roman Empire and hastening its collapse. The Plague of Justinian, or Justinian's Plague, was a pandemic that struck the Eastern Roman Empire, including its capital Constantinople, in 541 to 542 AD. The cause of this plague was the bacterium Yersinia pestis, which also caused bubonic plague. The pandemic had a significant social and cultural impact and has been compared to the Black Death. The plague spread across regions, including South and Central Asia, North Africa, Arabia, and Europe, as far away as Denmark to the north and Ireland to the west. Genetic studies show that the source of infection came from China. This plague reappeared every generation in the Mediterranean region until around 750. This wave of disease also had a major influence on the future of European history. The plague was named after the Roman Emperor Justinian I, who was in power at the time and was one of the few people who managed to survive after contracting the disease. According to the 6th century historian, Procopius, victims of Justinian's plague showed symptoms such as delusions, nightmares, high fever, and swelling in body folds such as the armpits and groin. Victims' resistance to the disease varies, some die soon after symptoms appear, while others can survive for several days. This outbreak is also known for killing an estimated 30 to 50 million people, which is probably equivalent to half of the world's population at the time, making it one of the worst pandemics ever recorded in history. Emperor Justinian I, who was in power at the time, also suffered from the disease but managed to survive. The spread of the Justinian plague occurred in the 6th century, when the Eastern Roman Empire was under the rule of Emperor Justinian I. This plague first appeared in Constantinople in 542 AD, and soon spread to Europe, Asia, and North Africa. The Yersinia pestis bacteria, which causes this outbreak, originates from China and northeastern India. From there, bacteria carried by black rats spread through land and sea trade routes leading to the capital of the Byzantine Empire in Constantinople, now Istanbul, Turkey. Egypt, especially the northern and eastern coasts of the Nile River, became the main point of spread for this plague, which then spread to various regions of the Byzantine Empire. The extreme climate change at the time, which left many people cold and hungry, created the perfect conditions for an outbreak to develop into a pandemic. The plague reached its peak in Constantinople in 542, a year after it appeared in several parts of the empire. Apart from trade activities, the spread of the Justinian plague was also influenced by other factors such as the movement of troops and population, as well as the density of large cities, which made it easier for the disease to spread. This plague continued to reappear in every generation in the Mediterranean region until around 750. Overall, the dark year 536 was not only a climate disaster but also had profound social and economic impacts, influencing the course of human history. This event reminds us of how vulnerable human civilization is to climate change and natural disasters. According to historical records, people during the dark year 536 faced difficult situations in various ways. Here are some notes on how they are trying to overcome the crisis. 1. Agricultural adaptation. People try to adapt their agricultural practices to changing climatic conditions. Even though crop failures occur, they try to plant crops that are more resistant to cold temperatures and extreme weather conditions. 2. Migration. Some community groups choose to migrate looking for places with better conditions for farming and living. 3. Utilization of local resources. In some areas, people are turning to local resources that are more accessible and independent of agriculture, such as hunting and gathering wild foods. 4. Communal cooperation. Certain communities increase cooperation between members to help each other in dealing with scarcity of food and other resources. 5. Use of food reserves. In some places, the use of food reserves that have been stored during better times becomes important for survival during periods of famine. 6. Government policies. Governments and local leaders in several regions are trying to implement policies to overcome the crisis, such as distributing food and aid to those in need. 7. Spirituality and religion. Many people turn to spirituality and religion, seeking solace and explanation for the disasters that have occurred. It also includes prayer and ritual efforts to ask for divine help. Despite these efforts, many communities continue to experience tremendous hardship, and not all efforts have been successful in overcoming the impact of the dark year 536. This was a challenging time for many civilizations, and its impacts were felt for years afterward. From Justinian's plague, we can learn several important lessons relevant to modern pandemics. The importance of understanding disease. Justinian's plague shows how important it is to understand disease and how it spreads. In a modern context, this means the importance of scientific and medical research to understand pathogens and develop vaccines and treatments. 2. Preparedness and rapid response. A rapid and effective response to an outbreak can reduce its impact. This includes health system preparedness, contact tracing, and effective quarantine. 3. International cooperation. The spread of disease knows no national borders, so international cooperation and research, exchange of information and resources is very important. 4. Public health. Investments in public health, including sanitation and health education, are key to preventing the spread of disease. 5. Socioeconomic impact. Pandemics can have major socioeconomic impacts, so there needs to be a plan to support the economy and society during times of crisis. 6. Community resilience. The Justinian outbreak shows that community resilience to disasters is an important aspect of post-pandemic recovery. 7. Climate change and disease. The extreme climate changes during the plague of Justinian created the perfect conditions for a plague to become a pandemic. This reminds us that climate change can influence the spread of disease. 8. Importance of data. Accurate data collection and analysis is critical to understanding and controlling the pandemic. By studying history and applying lessons from the past, we can be better prepared to face and manage future pandemics. The silver lining is, no matter how bad it seems, it will almost always get better, almost always. Some text goes here, so what do you think? Let us know in the comments below. And while you're at it, check out some more videos from our History Lawang.